name is Anissa. I'm co-owner and director of Studio 203. We are an artist-run project space on the west side of LA featuring fiber art, craft-based work, and social practices. Currently, we are featuring Non-Binary Code, which is a solo exhibition by local artist Ben Cuevas, with new work exploring gender identity, textile-based practices, and coded meaning through several large-scale knitted wall hangings and an interactive installation. This will be on view in person through January 13th, 2024. So if you're in LA, come through and experience the interactive installation. We're excited to have Tomorrow Girls Troupe with us today for a special screening and discussion. We will be screening 2 of their activations related to gender identity and the feminist movement in East Asia, and hear more about their work and practice as well. So I'm going to hand it over to Tsukuru and Midori. Thank you so much for coming and joining us, and I look forward to hearing more. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So,
Tsukuru and Midori, you can lead.
yeah, so thank you for coming, and I'm actually going to read something for you, first of all. So,
About the film we're gonna
right, yeah, we will screen first the work called My Body, My Choice. So I'm gonna read, okay? So this street performance piece was created in response to the recent growing exclusion and attacks on the trans community in Japan and abroad, and spotlights the issues of trans rights and women's rights, calling for unity instead of division and dialogue instead of confrontation. TGT members marched with supporters in front of the Torii gates, which is Japanese. Okay, so it's a gates in front of Shinto shrine. Torii gates of 2 shrines in Tokyo, holding placards with a common message for feminism and transgender rights. So there's a just kind of side note to give you the context. So there's a huge political organization called the Shinto Political Organization, which has many Shinto shrines and diet members throughout Japan as its members. So this organization has taken a stand against separate surnames for married couples and same-sex marriage. And in June 2022, it published a discriminatory booklet about LGBTQ+, which was distributed at the study session of the largest political party in Japan, LDP. So the source of oppression of both cisgender women and transgender people is patriarchy. So this time, as a symbol of patriarchy, we have chosen a shrine as a setting for our performance. This is it. Yeah, that's it.
So my name is Midori Ozaki from TGT. We're gonna start the discussion about our video work we just saw. So first things we want to talk about is feminism and transgender rights in Japan and what's happening there and what's happening internationally in general. So in Japan, recent years, there is a, we see more and more trans hate among feminist community. And we've been noticed that like years ago before pandemic, and then we've been discussing about, oh, we have to do something about it. We want to raise voice as a feminist, saying that transgender right is important. And we've been thinking about it for years. And then finally last year, this transgender hate getting even more serious and harsh way in Japan, and then just like Tsukuru just describes, like it's involve politicians and then even like religion, as well as some feminists. And we really couldn't wait any longer, and we just decided to do the street performance and a lot of event about to start the conversation as a feminist for the all gender equality. So what do you think about this Japanese situation about the relationship feminism and trans?
I mean,
Right.
yeah. I mean, as you said, it's global, right? It's very, very unfortunate, you know. So a little bit about my background, because I think it gives you, context to understand like where I'm coming from. So I'm non-binary trans. Started taking testosterone 2 years ago. So that may confuse people, but like I call myself male presenting non-binary trans person. So, but I'm 52. I came out at age 50. Most of my life, I lived socially recognized as a woman. So I have women's experiences, you know, such as discrimination at work, sexual violence, things like that, right? So to me, it's really, really crystal clear that, hey, we are fighting a common enemy. So women and transgender people should be fighting, you know, this great force. I mean, I could describe it as patriarchy, you know, in the beginning, but yeah, we should be united, and it's a no-brainer. But what's happening is like globally, and I'm actually very much shocked, you know, when I went over there last year and I learned from you like what was happening. A lot of notable, you know, feminist scholars in Japan are actually very much anti-trans right now in Japan. Which is really, really very unfortunate and worrying. And that's why, you know, groups like TGT, who can appeal to like younger audience, you know, younger women, doing performance like this, involving the public is just really important, because it inspires people, it educates people, and it makes them curious to learn about the issue more. So
Yeah, and also TGT members in Japan and also Japanese member, including me, learned from Tsukuru how this issue is international. So according to Tsukuru, this trans hate in the feminist community started in UK and spread to United States. And then there's a Twitter account owned by Japanese person. As soon as English, actually those people called TERF, the feminist doesn't support trans right. So as soon as like those TERF, who is English speaker, wrote anything on Twitter, X now, but So this Japanese turf translated into Japanese, and then the idea of turf just spread right away internationally. So we just felt like we have to do like opposite way. We want to spread like idea of equality, support trans rights and feminism all together, and then we are hoping to translate to any language and then spread right away. So that's our, way of resisting to the big wave of turf.
Yeah. Can I add two
Yes,
things
of
to that?
course.
So again, like giving you a little bit of context. So there's this book called Transgender Issue, written by a trans woman in UK, and I highly recommend. It's a huge book though, but anyway. So in Transgender Issue, like at the very beginning, like she talks about how this thing kind of all started. So well, they say, I mean, whether it's true or not, but they say in UK, they saw how transgender people winning rights in the United States. And TARP movement in UK was actually kind of inspired by our liberation movement in the United States because they saw it as a danger, I guess, and so that's why as a pushback it started in UK and kind of spread globally. But another thing I would like you to consider, because this is very important. I would like you to consider TARP movement as actually a very much inspired, it's inspired politically. So what I mean by that, a lot of anti-trans groups right now in this country are actually funded by political groups or political think tanks. So on one side, there are women who are genuinely concerned about this manufactured risks of trans people, say like using bathrooms and stuff like that. Yes, there are people like that, but actually, I think they are the victims of this propaganda that's started by political parties and politically affiliated people and groups. So there is this like huge campaign globally manufacturing fear against trans people, and they are using that very, very effectively. So that's what I would like you to consider.
Yeah, exactly. And because of that, so the reason why we made the performance piece in front of Shrine is because the Shrine was strongly connected to the one side of Japanese big political party, and then they are making a law against LGBTQ and also women in general. So it's very interesting. Like each country have different but very similar issue towards those minority. So we wanted to raise voice internationally, and then this is actually a great opportunity. We can talk about this in English. So
yeah.
And you want to talk about art and activism?
Yeah. Thank you. So my background is arts and social change. Actually, that's what I studied in college. Ended up not using any of that. I became a business consultant. But anyhow, so art's always, art has always been like really, I love art. I believe in art. But like, so this time collaborating with TGT, it was like really an eye-opening experience and very, very inspiring, and a kind of like brought back passion that I had for art. Because let's consider this right now, trans rights activism, which some of us engage, actually some are in the audience, my friends, but it's a dangerous place. And I'm not gonna lie about that. It's a very dangerous place. It's becoming very dangerous to put yourself out there and do activism. And I think that's where art comes in, because art has a power to, as I said earlier, actually, like inspire people, educate people, challenge your views in a somewhat safe manner. Now, I'm not saying it's completely safe. There is a risk. of being an artist as well and putting yourself out there. But art, okay, okay, this is the prop that I was talking about. So things like, wheat pasting. I'm not saying that you should do that because it's technically illegal. But things like this, things like kind of like I don't know, I guess what you might call low art versus high art. This can inspire people. This can make people curious, like if they see it on the poles, walking down the streets. And that's important. So I really strongly believe in the power of art and, to change people's views and change society, to lead the way. And any of you who are artists here, I really thank you for doing what you do. And I encourage you to get involved in social activism, because you have the power. Thank you.
Yeah, so during our performance in front of the shrine, there's a lot of pedestrian passing by, and then we always hold like a placard, like those picket, clearly say what we want. And we are a little bit nervous because we know a lot of people doesn't support trans rights. And then there's one moment, one old Japanese guy tried to talk to us, and we are so nervous. And then he said, "You guys are doing great job. Do more." And he left. And we were shocked. Like, we just didn't think about those old Japanese,
Yeah, turns out like he's a gay man. I talked to him.
Probably.
Yeah, he's a gay man, and he said
Yeah.
like he has lots of trans friends. So
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Anyway,
And it's
yeah.
so interesting because if we don't do the public performance and encounter those, random public people, we just didn't believe, even like we are activists, we doubt those people, probably they against us or they don't support us. But those art movement or those public event actually give us a lot of opportunity to know who they are, and then
Definitely. And also, I just want to point out, so I'm not gonna like put words in your mouth, but so yeah, watching this work, My Body, My Choice, some of you may think that it's pretty tame, but the thing is, like in Japan, and actually like in some cities here too, you have to be moving if you are like holding signs on the street corner. You can't stand. It's illegal. Okay, you have to keep moving.
Yeah.
In
so
fact,
yeah. So TGT does a lot of public street performance, and then we look into the law. So there's a law in Japan that you cannot just protest or anything standing up on the street. And the main message from police is we're gonna interrupt pedestrian, and then they can take us away because of that. So we have to be very creative to choreograph our performance so that we kept moving. So we are not performing, we are actually walking on the street as a citizen, and so that they cannot arrest us or they cannot stop us doing it. Yeah,
so the second location, the second shrine that you saw, that's very close to Japanese Diet Building. So it's a kind of a high security area. We were like super nervous being there because previous day when some of the members were kind of like scouting the location, and they had like kind of mock signs, and they were stopped by the police already. So so that is to say, even though it kind of looks tame maybe to the audience here, it's actually a great act of rebellion what we did, like riding a subway, holding a placard, and it was like really delightful to see like actually young people, maybe a couple of them like cheering for us, and we got stares too, but hey, maybe like it made them curious to look up some things on the web. So
yeah. Okay. Yes.
Okay, so-
Yes. We're gonna Anessa?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're gonna read the.
Yes. Okay, so next work is called Beyond Binary. So this short film documents a recorded performance where TGT members travel to a mountain shrine in Japan that has an onna zaka, which is women's path, and an otoko zaka, men's path, literally. With Tsukuru Force, who is here with us, or with, me, a transgender and non-binary member, TGT chose to take neither path and instead walk through the rocks, ferns, and dense undergrowth to carve out a middle path between the men's and women's path. This act of resistance poses questions to a society that continues to impose a gender binary and instead offers a vision for alternate ways for us to survive and shape our own futures in society today.
So we filmed this last winter in Japan, and the concept was how we come up with the concept was in Japan traditionally they genderize everything in the binary way. So we have a chopsticks for the male only and female only. We have a rice bowl for male and for female. For female, it's always smaller. For the chopstick, for female, also shorter. And so for this mountain, have two streets. One of them are little rocky, and another one have a nice stairs. So this is like smooth and nice stairs are for ladies, and for the like rocky, wide-looking path is for male. But we decided don't walk any of this, so we go in the middle. So that was the concept of the video. Can you talk a little bit about non-binary?
Yeah, so I've been thinking about this a lot because for obvious reason I am one, but I've been thinking about, the place for us like Asian non-binary people. And I would say it's probably not only Asian, but since I'm Asian, I would speak from that position. So I know for a fact that like Japan and other Asian countries, we have a very strict expectations for men and women. So growing up in that environment, declaring myself as non-binary was a very, very liberating experience. But at the same time, I recognize the struggles that Asian non-binary folks face and live with every day, because the pushback is like seriously hard, because society wants to put us in boxes, either boxes, either of the two boxes. So, so breaking through that, I think I would say it's probably the most threatening thing to Asian society, and also here actually, is the existence of non-binary two-spirit, people, because we are literally breaking the boundaries. We are saying, sorry about my French, but fuck the binary, right? Yeah. So that's, I think, what's very, very threatening. The powers that be don't like that. They want to oppress us and make us go back to either of the boxes. So that's I've been kind of toying with the idea of like making a documentary film actually about Asian non-binary people. Yeah, but that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. Yes, and also we really wanted to talk about the difference between transgender right in United States and Japan. What I learned was the situation, both of them are very serious and in a not good way. However, the law or culture are so different. How you describe the difference between Japan and United States?
So, okay, so I always felt this way, not only about trans people, but like LGBTQ plus people in general. So, God, I struggle with. Okay, anyway, I'll say what I have in mind. So, I think discrimination in Japan happens in a more subtle way, because Japan always has been a country where if you're quiet about certain things, people don't bother you, for one. So that's always has been the attitude. So from the outside, it may look there are not much, happening, because, okay, so what I'm talking about is here, it's very, very obvious. You can see it. You can see all these protests happening. Yeah, I mean, anti-trans protests, right? So you can see it's obvious, anti-trans movement.
Or
but in
violence.
Japan, right? But in Japan, I think it's very, very subtle. Well, on Twitter, it's obvious, but it's like it's out on the street. It's kind of subtle. But it's not to say that discrimination and violence against trans people in Japan are less than here. So I want to point out one thing. Gender marker change. The requirements for gender marker change in Japan requires you to have a surgery where your reproductive organs are taken away. So the requirement is you can't reproduce. And that's the requirement for gender marker change. So that kind of thing is very, very extreme. And until recently, nobody questioned it. It's actually, there has been a lawsuit against this law. And actually, in the Supreme Court recently, I think it was October 25th, it was declared unconstitutional to require people to have this surgery. So we have a high hope, in the future for that to change. But so that's like one illustration of, even though it may not be obvious, like the oppression that trans people face in Japan, it is there in a more subtler manner.
So as an ally, having a lot of communication with Japanese people in Japan in the LGBTQ community, what I hear from them is it's a very similar discrimination. However, like how it look like is very different. So just like Tsukuru said, here in United States we see more like active violence or like those like very physical sometimes news. And then, however, in Japan, it's more like quiet but completely isolation. The person, less support system. So United States have a lot more support system, even though there's a lot of discrimination here, but there's a lot of like LGBTQ center, a lot of support group online or local. However, in Japan, we don't have enough. It's having more now than 10 years ago, but those are very new things and definitely not enough. And people here have more understanding what is LGBTQ, at least. But in Japan, lots of people have no idea what is it. And then, so they avoid the conversation. They totally misunderstood. Looks so like from like, far away, looks like very quiet. And maybe they are like more, they might have more peace. But actually, not like, it's not really peaceful situation, to be honest, yeah.
Can I point out
Yes.
So one other thing, and so there's this women politician in Japan. She's really, really horrendous in every way, but maybe like 4 years ago, so she made a statement, and it was not like exclusively trans, people. It was actually LGBTQ plus people, and she was talking about productivity as a human being. So her claim was, well, LGBTQ people do not reproduce, which is not even true, but like do not reproduce, so therefore they have no productivity in society. So that was her claim, and she's a politician. Actually, she's a diet member of LDP. And what I'm trying to say here is Japan is a country where these kind of horrendous statements by the elected politician go unpunished. She, till this day, she is still a member. She has not been punished at all. So that's what's horrendous. That's what's actually the depth of discrimination in Japan. It's like a lot of things are actually, just normalized, and okay, so I'm gonna shut up, but the statement, that productivity statement though, that's like another illustration of like why women and LGBTQ people plus people must unite and fight together. Because think about it. What she's saying is like, women who can't bear children or who choose not to bear children are not the productive members of society either. That's a really horrendous statement. So.
Yes, that is so true. And I want to mention that one thing about the supporting group. So in Japan, seeing therapist is not common. It's very difficult to find therapist, and it's very expensive to see therapist, and the insurance doesn't cover at all. So a lot of people in like especially minority community have a very hard time to see therapist, but also it's very difficult to find therapists who understand feminism or even or more than a more LGBTQ community issue. So because of those lack of support system, getting like little bit of back, like what I see my friends in United States is like as an activist, we get a lot of stress from backlash or a lot of things. And then, but at least we have some sort of support system in LA or those big city at least. And then there's someone talk to and someone professional to talk to. And then somehow we educate myself how to cope with the stress, how to fight back, and then bring my resilience stronger. But in Japan, because lack of access to those professionals at all, everybody just not talk to anyone, and then kept isolation. So I think that's a very difficult situation, and the same things happening in feminism community too. So yeah.
Yeah. That, do we still have time?
I don't know.
Did anyone have any questions or?
Yeah.
Maybe a couple minutes?
Oh, the Ben?
What is the significance of the pink mask that you're wearing?
Oh, so this is a hybrid of silkworm and rabbit. So silkworm is a symbol of East Asian women's labor. So maybe you heard about Silk Road in China, or there's a lot of silk factory in East Asia. Japanese kimono is made out of silk, and there's like there's a two sides. So the silk, those industry help the woman to be independent. At the same time, there's a lot of exploitation to the woman, and also this is hybrid with rabbit. So rabbit, you can think about like those Playboy mascot character, very sexualized rabbit. Also Japanese myth from like 1,000 years ago. The rabbit was always in the Japanese myth, but in the very weird character, usually very weak and helpless, not independent, and sometimes it's really how to say zurui?
Cunning.
Kind of character, and then a lot of women associate themselves as a rabbit. So somehow the culture or society use rabbit as a symbol of woman, which is not strong. So we wanted to redefine the rabbit and silkworm to be a more independent, to speak up kind of character.
I do have a quick question. To two monuments or like buildings that you did your like artistic demonstrations in front of, what were those exact buildings? Were they like government offices or something?
The shrine. Yeah.
These are shrines. So two different shrines. It's kind of like two different shrines, and two locations are kind of random locations. Although the last one, the second one, as I said, it's very close to the Diet building, so that's our kind of statement as well. But first location was picked because it was kind of easier to film it from the street. We needed that crosswalk that we can walk back and forth and visible from the street. So yeah.
Yeah.
Is it a religious shrine then?
Yeah,
Yeah,
religious
yes,
shrine,
Shinto.
and then like the shape of like this structure is a gate to the shrine. So if you pass through the gate, usually you reach the main building of the shrine.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts from either of you?
And then go to this one.
Oh, yeah, I can talk about that. So, even though this really does not directly relate to what we've seen or discussed today, I just wanted to touch upon what's happening in Gaza right now. So, as a member of the queer community in LA, we really came together strongly in the past couple of weeks in support of Palestinian people, because as queers, we recognize the oppression when we see it. And queer struggle has always been or queer liberation has always been liberation for all, right? So as queers, we really believe it's important to stand up for the liberation of Palestine and its people. And yeah, so we've been pushing hard, and we will continue pushing because two things. Because we really do not want to be used as a vehicle to justify the killings and genocide of 2.4 million people. Some people are, weaving the narrative that, oh, if you're gay, if you're trans, you get killed in Palestine. There are queer people in Palestine, and they are getting killed. We will not be a vehicle because Israel spends a lot of money in pinkwashing, and we will not be, the reason to justify the genocide. So that's why we are fighting hard and we are pushing hard. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So what's next? What are you going to collaborate again?
I hope so.
Oh, next, actually, next stage is in Korea. So we have several Korean members, and we've been discussing that there's also a very strong movement of TERF in Korea, and actually Japanese TERF and Korean TERF is communicating too. Main source of information usually coming from Western country. However, we need more group to speak up as a feminist on this topic. So we are hoping that we can. So we recently published a book in Japan, and there's a pages about transgender right too. And we are hoping to translate the book into Korean, and then if we could translate in Korean, we want to plan an event, like talk event or some art event, talk about this transgender right issue in Korea. So that's our next big plan for this topic. And also we're gonna do East Coast tour next year. We're gonna have exhibitions and lectures at the 3 different universities in East Coast, in SUNY in New York, and New Jersey City College, and the University of Connecticut. They are very much interested in this topic as well, and they have a huge Asian community in East Coast. So we are hoping that we can get more ally and then have more discussion around it. So we are very excited about it.
Yeah. I mean, we actually hope to have more collaboration. I recognize Ilana in the audience, but yeah, we as in trans people, there are a bunch of trans artists as well, so we would love to collaborate with, local feminist artists in LA as well, so, yeah.
I noticed your performance is mainly walking. Have you thought about incorporating dance into some of your actions?
Yes, very much. So not this specific performance, but sometimes we have dancer coming for our performance. Actually, we are going to choreograph another performance piece in New Jersey next year. And since New York is right next to it, and it's easy access to call for all our dancer friends, so we might do more like, dance-related performance in New Jersey. Yes, that is about not transgender right, but comfort woman issue, which is about the sexual slave issue during World War II. So.
it. I hope you all did too. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you so much.